Hello and welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures and back to the shop, and this time to Ruby Sue. So as you know, if you watched the last video, we're getting ready for a big trip, and well, as I'm going through the quads, ATVs, four-wheelers. Anyway, as we're getting the quads ready, you know, we went ahead and did a service on the chicken hawk over there, did the oil, the transmission fluid, the front diff fluid, all went seemingly well there. But getting Ruby Sue ready back here, we've noticed that the CV boots on the front axles, well, they're destroyed. And, you know, instead of taking the cheap route of just replacing the boots, we're going to take the slightly more expensive route of replacing the entire front axles, because the rig's 22 years old, and sure, might as well go ahead and do that. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and get started. Didn't even get to finish the intro before you put in the thing. All right, that's okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. So like I was saying, we're getting into Ruby Sue here. You remember the old girl. She's a good little quad. But we're going to go ahead and replace the front axles. And we're going to do that with this Niche, whatever, that brand from the Amazon website. And well, you get a pair of them. I think it's about $110, which is pretty good. And they're pretty much, you know, ready to go. Everything's pre-greased. Obviously that's pre-greased because it kind of has to be. It's sealed. And they actually pre-grease the U-joint for you. That's nice. But they don't give you new roll pins. And on this machine, these just don't slide into the splines with a snap ring. Actually have a roll pin, so you have to have a tool to push the old one out and push the new one in. And we'll get into that later when we start putting it together. But, you know, first things first, got to take the wheels off. So I know you all have seen me do this probably 112 times by now, so we're just going to go ahead and bang off both front wheels and catch back up to you. So if you've watched the, you know, review we did of old Ruby Sue here, you'll have caught on to the major difference in this quad from the other Sportsmans. But if you didn't watch that, first, go back and watch it. Pretty good. But second, the front end on Ruby Sue, because of its age, is quite different. Most Polaris Sportsmans that are from years probably, I think, 2005 on up, the front drive system for the all-wheel drive is activated at the differential. Electricity goes there. When you push the buttons, some witchcraft happens, and it engages the front drive. But on these older units, the front drive is always active at the differential, and the witchcraft happens down at each hub individually at the front. So the hubs are built very different, and let me show you. So first you can see the differential back in there, kind of pointing at it. Notice it's a lot smaller than what you'd see on the more modern rigs. But as you back up, you know, you can see you've got your wiring here that does the magnetic witchcraft down inside the hub. And you can see the front hub is quite different. You actually do have to service this, and this has been serviced recently, last year I think it is. You don't have to service them all that often. I think about the same as everything else. You do have to fill it with oil, and there is a specific oil that goes in this, and I do have it, and I'll show it to you later when we get to that point. But we've got a lot to take off, so we have to, of course, take the cap off, let the oil fall all over the floor and make a mess, pull bearings and everything else out of there. We also have to disconnect, you know, the steering tie rod here, and we're going to have to disconnect, you know, the A-arm from the bottom. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started with the hub, so that way it makes a more controlled mess on the floor as opposed to just swinging everywhere. Okay. All right, so like I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and start by opening up the hub here. We're just going to take this cover off. That's 3 Torx T25 things. Seems like I need a parts tray. I'll come back for that. And then we'll just kind of, there's a little slot here. Maybe you can't see it. See right here, you've got a little slot, which is nice. You can stick a screwdriver in there and give it a little, how you doing? And it gets it started for you. There's another one right here. That was nice. They were thinking about service. That's good. Always applaud a manufacturer that thinks about service. Okay. And that O-ring looks like it's good coming out with it. And there goes some juices. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clean up this cap here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. O-ring's in good shape, so that's good. We don't need to replace the O-ring, which is a good thing because I didn't buy any new ones. Okay. And the smell is strange because it doesn't smell like oil. What it smells like is just grease. And I know that's a weird thing to bring up and say, but you know. Now you may have also noticed that when I turn this, it doesn't turn the axle. To turn the axle, this is going to sound weird, grab the rear tire and you can turn the axle. I'll show you. There we go. So you can turn the axle, but you have to do it with the rear tire. And I only did that so I can get to the cotter pin easier. Came out pretty good. You are going to want to go ahead and replace your cotter pin with a new one when you put it back together. Just a suggestion. And now we get to figure out what size that castle nut is, because you know Polaris love consistency, meaning they hate consistency. I'm going to start with the American sizes first. Nope. This one, too loose. That's whatever that is. That's a 1-inch. Here's a 15/16. Oh, that fits good. So they did do an American size castle nut. That's good to know. It's also helpful to try to get this broken loose and get it off. If you leave the brakes there so you can lock them, then you can break this loose, which honestly wasn't all that tight. I think the torque spec on this is not a lot of torques. I think it says specifically, it says the words not a lot. Okay, so we're going to want to save all the bits that come out of here. And actually, before we take that all the way off, let's go ahead and pull the brake caliper off. And that's just a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch bolt on the back side of the caliper. Let's go ahead and take that off. I'll show you where that's at. That's actually right here. Are my fingers touching it? Okay. Gonna need an extension. Don't need the brake locked anymore. There we go. Okay, don't lose the washers. You get a lock washer and a not so lock washer, just a flat one. Don't lose those. Okay, very good. Give this a little bit of a wiggle and off it comes. And we'll just, that's fine. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and finish what we were working on here and take the castle nut away. And we're going to clean it as if we're going to reuse it. The new axles do come with new castle nuts and flat washers. But, just in case, JIC, we're going to keep those. Okay. And here we've got the axle nut washer. And then we should be able to pull that off. The bearing fell out, and since it fell in the pan, we're going to go ahead and want to clean that. And on the back side, the bearing stayed, but we've got a nice stream of fluid all over the brake rotor, so remind me to go ahead and clean that before we put it back together. Bearings overall seem okay. Not like I can do anything about it right now anyway. I don't have any new ones, so it's just fine, I'm sure. Bearings made in the USA. Timken. Not sure if you can see that. Timken. There's a Timken part number. USA. And these are the originals, so that's good to know. Okay. Yep, feels okay. And now the next bearing. And I think these are the same part. However, this one doesn't say anything on it. So maybe they're not the same part. And then this guy, this is your actual drive clutch here. Unless you're having problems, I recommend just leave this alone. Don't mess with it. We're just going to set it on a rag over here. Then there's more. You've got this ring, which does a thing. It has a name. Don't really recall what the name of this is, but it does do a thing. And then we've got yet another bearing. Wonderful. This is also a Timken. Right there. Oh, you can't see it. Timken. There's another part number. USA. Neat to see Timken bearings in here. And I do believe that is all of the bits for now. And I'm going to go ahead and scoop this under a little bit more, because now we're going to go ahead and take off the steering and take this off so we can get, this has to move so you can get the axle out. All right. So I've gone ahead and removed the cotter pins from the steering tie rod and the bottom of the the hub where it goes to the... Look, if y'all need a video to remind you how to remove cotter pins, then maybe this isn't for you doing this kind of work. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take those off, and you're going to see firsthand what I talk about. When I talk about Polaris and their love of consistency, no, inconsistency. Their love of inconsistency when it comes to the different flavors and variations of bolts and nuts that they like to use. We'll start here with the lower, the A-arm joint where it goes to the, the thing. That is a solid 9/16 right there. But then when we come up here, this is 16 millimeters, and that is 15 millimeters. Can anybody explain to me why, from a factory, you want a mixture of American and not so American metric things on the same machine? And look, it's not just me being dumb, right? 9/16 is what fits best down there. 15 and 16 is all that fits on the other ones. So, and I've encountered this on all of the Polaris rigs, the Ruby Sue, the Hawkeye, even the old 500 had that mix all over it, to the point where the bolt would be SAE and the nut would be metric. I don't even understand how that's possible, but Polaris finds a way. Okay, anyway, we're going to go back to taking this apart. So I'm going to start here with the steering, because that makes sense to me. And actually, that's fine. What are we going to do with the brake thing? Let's just put it over there. Let's start with the steering because that makes sense to me. And what did I say it was? Oh, I'm sorry. I said the bottom was 16. Sorry, this is 17 millimeters here, and this is 15 millimeters on the top. So get our 15 millimeter wrench here and our 17 millimeter wrench here. Well, I feel like I'm going to just use an impact there. Had to turn the Hercules up to power mode 3. But she did it. And of course I dropped that right there in the sauce. Let's grab that. And that should just lift out of there. Oh, dropped that right in the sauce too. Okay, save the nut for later. Yes. Okay, now for the bottom. There's an oil seal in here that didn't come out like I thought it would. I'm thinking it might be on the back side. Guess we'll find out in a minute. Let's go ahead and get that bottom thing off. And what did I tell you that was? 9/16. Probably is tight. What was that? It was just the brakes. We don't need those. Well, let's see if we can just push this out of the way and go back in with our Hercules friend. Oh, that just came right off. Groovy. It's because I broke it loose with all the torque supplied by the arms. Okay. Now, how do we separate this? Can we just give it a shake? Or, well, let's get this back under here. Or do we need to tap on it? I say we need to tap on it. Well, let's go ahead and also hang up the brake caliper. It's making me nervous just hanging around down here. So let's get a hook on it and hook it to something. There, that makes me feel a little better. At least it's kind of hooked on something. And I'm being careful not to hit the threads. Don't want to do that. That's doing absolutely nothing. Wonder if I just get a pry bar on the bottom of this hub and on there, and maybe. Maybe not. Am I ruining something? Probably. Is there rubber under there? Oh, yeah, see. Don't want to ruin the rubber. Well, I suppose I could pry against the old axle. We're going to replace that anyway. There we go. Okay. A-arm is dropped, and now we can potentially just slide this the rest of the way out. In theory. Should we have loosened the nut up here at the top? Maybe. I actually kind of think we don't need to if we can take that out. Meaning the other end, and we can just pull it. Well, I reckon we'll go ahead and pull the axle. Alright, so as you can see, I've just about got that roll pin lined up in a way where we can get access to it. So if I go back, you realize there isn't any real good way to get good access to that roll pin, but this seems like it should be okay. Now in the service manual it says, you know, remove the roll pin with a drift. I don't know what a drift is, but I found this neat tool, you know, on the interwebs. Found it on the Amazon website, but I think you can get it from other places. It's made by QuadLogic, and it's a roll pin punch thing, and it can go on an air hammer. It's quite long, see? It's quite long, so I guess if it had a hard to reach spot, it would work. We're gonna go ahead and try it. It says you can use an air hammer or just a regular hammer. I'm gonna try a regular hammer first and try to go easy. And then if it shows any signs of disagreeing with me, well, then we're going to choose violence. All right, so like I said, we're going to try to go at this with a regular hammer and kind of see what happens. Well, it seems like it's kind of moving. But would it be quicker if we grab the air hammer? It would also be helpful if I hit the end of the tool here, but it is going. So maybe we'll just go ahead and do it the nice and easy way. The problem I'm running into, though, is I can't get a nice straight line at that roll pin. There's no way to achieve that, you know, with all the parts that are included with the final assembly of one of these quads. Well, let's see how far we can get it. I can feel it poking out the backside. Yep. Maybe a little more than 1/4 of an inch. Yeah. But is there another way to get a better angle at this? I don't know. That seems like it's bottomed out. So now, how do I finish it? Can it come from the bottom? No. The top? No, my tool is just, well, it's long. I'm wondering if I can come from the top, from way up top. I don't know. Let me see. I have updates. So the quad itself has chosen violence. so I could get a better angle. I thought, well, I'll just take off the rack and get it from the top. No, that didn't work. There's no way to get it from the top. So then I decided, well, what else can I get out of the way? So I took this off. There's wires apparently attached to it. Fortunately, didn't break any of the wires, but I've had to unplug them all, and I have to remember how they all plug back in, because I don't know what they do. I'm sure it's something. Who knows? But with that also comes, you know, the screen for the radiator that scoops the air and stuff. But on the bright side, I think I have a much straighter angle at this. I might be able to finish it. I don't know. So we're just going to go ahead and give that a try and see if that makes it any better. Well, I heard the roll pin fall out. My thing here is stuck, my tool. Should be able to get that back out though. Maybe. Oh yeah. There we go. Sorry for the racket, but the roll pin has come out. I don't know where it went exactly. There's a piece of foam. But we should be able to get the axle out now and finish the disassembly portion of this project here. Okay, so I think now we just pull this off the splines. Or not. Oh, ow, yep. Didn't need that skin. Well, how do you... There we are. And then, of course, like I mentioned, we've got a bearing here. We want to keep that. That's important. There's the roll pin. So you do not want to reuse these. You do need to replace them, because when you take it out, you ruin it, and it's probably not as grippy as it once was. So we do have new ones. Okay, well, you synced it. Anyway, you saw the axle come out, and let me show you a few things I'm looking at. Well, first, you can see that CV boot, it's ruined. And I know, like I said in the beginning, you know, you can just replace the boot. That's true. However, after I pulled that out and I'm moving it around, you know, wiggling the joint around, it was grinding a bit inside. So, you know, new axles, here we are. Cleaned out the hub. It looks pretty good. You can see down in there. All the races and seals look like they're in real nice shape. So I've gone ahead and cleaned up the inside of the hub at this side. And then I discovered the ball joint, I guess it is, at the bottom of the strut. On the back side, if I turn this around, you can see there's a bit of a Zerk fitting right there. But there's a seal, this seal, that goes right up here. So after we bolt that on and put that together, I think it's a good idea to go ahead and squirt some grease in there, because there was really none in there. Okay, so now we're just going to work on putting the new axle. I'm going to fall over because I'm trying to balance on my feet here. Put the new axle in, and hopefully that goes just as well. It should. Okay, so we're going to try to be a little more graceful with getting this in than we were getting the old one out. So, can this go back in here? Nope. Can we maybe do that? Oh, before I go, let's make sure. Yep, we do have our new bearing on, or the bearing back on here where it goes. But can I get it through all of here? Oh yeah, that kind of worked. And then we do have to line this guy up with the, well, let me come over there. Okay. I don't know why this isn't wanting to turn, but we do have to line this up with the hole, you know, for the roll pin thing. And it went on, but did it line up? I don't know. Went too far. Yeah, that's lined up. You have to take my word for it, because I'm not going to... Yeah, sure, I'll show you. Right in there, that's lined up. That's what you need. All right. Now we take our new pin, and this is kind of... I'm thinking this might get a little tricky, but we've got to start it in the... in the axle there. Can we just do this like that and then start to tap it and drop it down in the oil pan? Okay. Is there a direction it prefers? Probably not. Try it again. Oh, it's starting to go now. Okay. It looks like we've got it lined up with the hole, so we should just be able to push this the rest of the way through. Yep, looks like it's going. And that's exactly what we want. Ow, that was my thumb. Okay, and that feels like it's about it. So let me bring you back over. Let's turn that light down. There we go. So now you can see we've got the roll pin, hammered back into place, and it sticks out about the same on this side as it does on the back side, and it's about a single millimeter, or roughly a 1/16 of an inch. Yeah, I don't know if that's accurate, but closer to the millimeter mark anyway. But it sticks in there. It looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and finish reassembling the hub bit. Okay. So then we've got a bearing that goes in there. Like I was saying, this part, this flat bushing or O-ring, has these tabs that are facing, all up. And your clutch here, your electrical, magnetic, magical clutch here, has these 3 indents, and these sit nicely into those indents. And it's very important to remember which direction you took this off, because that's the direction it must go back on. And so you just put it on the splines, and there we go. And then from here, we get another bearing that goes there. Okay. Then we need the hub, which means I have to go over there and get it. It's also important to clean off your brake rotor, because if you did it like me, you got oil all over it. Anyway, we're going to slide this back on. Yep. And then we need another bearing, like so. And we need washer. Nope. Yep. And castle nut. And I am using the new washer and castle nut from the new axle. So that's on. It's only finger tight. I'm going to go ahead and grab a rear tire and rotate it, and I want to make sure that this seems to rotate freely. Ouch. Is it turning? Are you watching? Yeah. Okay. All right, so I believe next we're just going to go ahead and, like I said, we're going to leave this finger tight here, mainly because, oh, the wind is just blowing a bunch of crap in the shop. Anyway, mainly because we're going to come back and there's a specific torque procedure for this. Whatever. But we're going to go ahead and reinstall. Whoops, we almost forgot the little rubber seal that goes on the bottom where the bolt is and feed this up through there like that. Put the nut on it. We're just going to run that on by hand as well. I don't want to overdo it just yet. Let's go ahead and put the steering doohickey back on. And that, if you remember, had 2 washers. One went on here, then it went in the hole. And then one went on the bottom. And, you know, like that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up just because I want to. There we go. Let's see, can I tighten this one up? Is it going to let me? Yes. Let's hit that a little bit more. Just a how you doing. Okay, and then now I'm just going to go ahead and put the brake caliper back on. If I can get it unhooked from the way I have it hanging back here. Okay. Well, did somebody push the brake lever while I wasn't looking, or there it goes. Okay. Don't forget, this is the Bolt split washer flat washer combo. Okay, brakes are reattached. Now finally we're going to get into this torque procedure for this thing. Okay, so first you find your tiny little torque wrench that does thing in inch-pounds, and then you put all the adapters you need to go from 1/4 to 3/8 to half, because, well, that takes a big socket and that just looks ridiculous. And you set your torque wrench to 165 inch-pounds. It's important. Now, it says torque this to 165 inch-pounds. There we go. Click, click, click. Now, it says rotate the axle, not the hub, but the axle several times. I guess that means 3 or more, by turning a rear wheel. So by turning the rear wheel, if you remember, it turns the axles in the front. So we're going to do that several times, it says. I hope you're keeping counting, because I'm not. I'm just back here turning the wheel. Now it says to loosen it. So now we loosen it. Okay. Then now finally, it says to torque it now to 124 foot-pounds. Sorry, inch-pounds. Inch-pounds. Do not do foot-pounds. So figure out how to set your tiny torque wrench to 124 inch-pounds. There we go. Okay, now we install the cotter pin. Now it does say if you can't put the cotter pin in at this torque setting, then you may tighten it until you can. However, you are not to exceed 144. inch-pounds in doing so, but it looks like we're going to be able to stick our cotter pin right through there. Now the book is very specific on which way you bend your cotter pin. It wants you to take the long side, and I know there's many people that debate on the proper way to do cotter pins, so I'm going to do what the book says. It says take the long side and pull that up and over the top. And then the short side is supposed to bend down. And look, this isn't me giving you advice. This is coming from the shop manual for the Polaris, okay? Like I say in the intro, you know, follow the instructions from whatever you're doing. Don't listen to me. There we go. Now we can put the cap back on. If I can find a cap. Oh, I found the cap, and it's got a bunch of junk in it. We're going to have to clean that out. Yeah. A little bit of shop grade Windex. You know, AKA it's brake cleaner. And I don't think it matters which way this goes back on, as long as it lines back up with the holes. And you don't want to force it into place without starting these, because you might do it crooked and then you can't turn it. There we go. So we're just going to run these in a little bit at a time. Then we're going to turn this over to make sure it's seated all the way around, and that looks pretty good. Okay. All right, so the hubs on these old machines, they take a very specific fluid, and that is this demand drive fluid, not to be confused with the AGL, otherwise known as the annoyingly expensive gear case lubricant, or the actual, you know, transmission, or the, sorry, engine oil. Demand drive fluid. It's very specific for the hubs on this, and we'll go ahead and show you how to fill these up. Firstly, I'm going to use this syringe. It's the same one that you may have seen before. We used it to fill the transmission and the front gear case on the Chicken Hawk. It's been cleaned, and we'll reuse it here again as well. All right, so to fill it, first we're going to remove the fill plug, which is right here. It's oddly difficult to remove, meaning it's just the threads are snug is all I'm saying. And in case you're wondering what size this is an American size. I don't remember what that is, 3/16 perhaps. But I'm sure if you've got a selection of these at home, you'll figure it out. Okay, and there's their plug. It's got a little magnet on it, which this one's relatively clean because we cleaned it when we had it apart. Set that there just to make sure this is going to fit in the hole. The answer to that is yes. So now it wants you to put it at roughly a 4 o'clock position, but since you're on that side, we're going to put it at a roughly 10 o'clock position. So that's about 9 o'clock. We'll just say that that's about right. I guess I should have put some stuff in the syringe here. And I do not remember how much it takes, but the how much it takes is very simple. You slowly feed it in until it comes back out. And when it starts running back out, it's full. You got to feed it in slower than that, though, because it takes more than that. If you feed it in too quickly, it won't find its way the rest of the way, you know, down inside where all the bearings and things live. You can see we've got a steady little stream. I'm going to shift it up just a skosh. Okay. I'm going to let that eat a little bit. Maybe work it back and forth a little bit. And do it again. I think that's all she's going to take. Take our fill plug and do not cross thread that. You'll be sad. Okay. Now I'm going to get some shop grade Windex and go ahead and clean this up. And that's pretty much it. I think I'm going to go ahead and shoot some grease into that, you know, the steering thing down here before we close it up. But that's pretty much it. That spins pretty good, feels nice. We'll spin the wheel. Yep, and we should be able to hold on to that. Yep, feels pretty good. And that's pretty much how you do that. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. I'm just going to do it while you're not looking because y'all probably don't want to see it in fast forward mode with music you don't want to hear. So I'm just going to come back to you when the whole thing's done. Okay. Okay, folks. So we got, you know, the other side done, taken care of, put back together, got the rack put back on, the front bumper that we had to take off, got that put back on. The other side, it went okay, you know, but old Ruby Sue, well, she chose violence. So we met violence with more violence, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we're not 100% done, as I just said we're done. Well, we're not 100% done. And, well, let me show you what I'm on about. Well, first you can see both of the old axles. Actually, it looks like only one was completely separated. This one looked like it would survive another season. Maybe it was starting to crack and come apart. This is the first one that you saw that was leaking grease everywhere. But these caps right here, well, turns out they're leaking. So we can't really, you know, 100% finish. So, you know, I went to putting fluid back in. You all saw me do that just a little bit ago. We put fluid back in that hub on the driver's side or left side. Or if you're standing in front of the quad, I guess that's the right side. But you know what I mean. And it looked fine. Buttoned it back up and started seeing fluid dripping out of the thing. So, you know, it's leaking. That O-ring's no good. Well, what do you want? It's 22-year-old O-ring. So, ordered a couple new O-rings. You saw me do it. You know, you don't need to see it again. We're not going to make a video just on putting that O-ring in because it's not going to be here for a couple of days. And, well, I need to get a video out. That's what I'm saying. Okay. What else? Put in all new cotter pins everywhere. I don't remember if I showed you that. Probably did not. Put all new cotter pins in all the places. And then we also went ahead and greased the lower, I don't know if it's really a ball joint, but it kind of looks like a ball joint. But anyway, I'll show you kind of how she looks now. So this is the one y'all watched me put back together, and it's got a pan under it because it just keeps on dripping. So because of that, I'm not even going to bother. I just put the little screws back in here so I don't lose them. And, well, we'll put it back together when the new parts come in. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. I think you all get the point. We put new axles in Ruby. I'd like to thank you all for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. You know, it would be super if you have not yet subscribed. Please go do that. It's the little button that says subscribe. Just click it. And you'll be subscribed. It's that easy. And it doesn't cost you nothing either. I guess that's it. How do we end this thing? I don't remember. In the meantime, We'll see you later. Bye-bye now.